appreciate that. I think I said last year, and I say in most of my talks, that it's always a little awkward when people clap before, because I'm always I appreciate that people are doing that honorably and, interested to hear what I have to say. But I'm also thinking like, man, what if I suck? And they want their clap back. They're like, I wasted a good clap on you, jerk.
We'll let you know.
Oh, I have no doubt. This group of anybody will definitely let me know, right? There is not a shy person in this room. So, which is good. Those are my favorite people to talk to. So, as he introduced me, as I walked up, you heard the letters AVT. What that stands for is the name that I go by online, and my trademark name within my practice, which I'll explain, is the Angry Viking Therapist. I come to that because that is what I do for a living. I'm a therapist. I'll talk a little bit about that history here in just a second. But the Angry Viking Therapist part came not by my own choosing. Obviously, I am into that kind of history. I like that. I'm always interested in that kind of mentality that the Vikings had. Definitely did some things wrong, but I like that part of history. I'm covered in Viking tattoos, along with some other things. But one day I'm sitting in, working on my PhD, I'm in a class, and the professor's writing on the board. And if you've been around, that kind of formal education, that upper education, it's a small group. So a cohort of people getting their PhDs, like 7 or 8 people. We all know each other pretty well. And the professor's writing on the board, and I answered a question that he asked, just answered something out loud. And he said, well, who said that? And somebody in the room said, that angry Viking looking dude over there, right? So it just kind of stuck when I was looking to put together kind of my business outside of my own private practice, trying to go online. I had a business coach, and he thought it was pretty awesome and would stand out, so I trademarked it, and it kind of stuck. So there's the AVT part. If you haven't come across why Bear and some of the folks here use those initials. So my real name is Dr. Trevor Wilkins. By practice, I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I have a private practice in Kentucky, but I have some online programs too. I get to do this a lot. I get to go and speak to different groups, a lot of public safety groups, a lot of type A minded individuals, a lot of people that might identify themselves as being in a group that's more angry than not. That's one of my specialties. High risk careers, adults with childhood trauma. The reason I do that is because I spent 15 years in uniform law enforcement, most of it with the Kentucky State Police. I spent 15, as I said, not 20 or 25, which is retirement. I spent 15 because I was let go from the state police. I was let go because I was having a problem. What I know now is an issue with me. What I assumed then was an issue with them. That's going to lead a little bit into what I'm talking about today. But again, I get to travel a lot and speak to a lot of different groups, public safety agencies that are looking to better their mental health within their agency, individuals that might come to a conference like this that are looking to better their own mental health or the way that they talk to people or do things. But I also talk to counseling groups that are wanting to work with, quite honestly, people like us, right? Pretty type A individuals. If you've been around the counseling community, there's a lot of good people that work in it, whether that be psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists like me. There's a lot of good people in it. But there's a whole lot of people not like us, right? There's this very passive mindset. There's this very victim mindset within the counseling world. And one of the things I love about coming to this is my 4th year here, my 4th time to speak, which I always appreciate. The thing I like coming here is that's not this group, right? Yes, we are victims of things. Yes, things happen to us. But we don't typically have that victim mindset. This is why this is a group that I and probably most of you identify with for that very reason. We all came to this group different ways. Some people saw a billboard and started looking at things. Some people, like me, I met Bear in a kind of a marketing group. We were looking to grow our own social medias, and we met and just kind of hit it off and became friends ever since. Some people came through prepping. Some people came through scriptures. But what I like about these groups and what makes it fun for me to both attend, be a part of, and speak at is we're all kind of like-minded people, right? We're pretty close. There's not a lot of, there's diversity here, but there's a pretty common core moral, there's pretty common core ethics and what men should be, right? This is a men's group. We could say men here. That's okay, even though it's not okay in the world, it seems today. So the first year that I spoke very specifically about my trauma specialty. That is something that I deal with a lot. Again, when I talk about those years, that kind of fall of grace for me, I talk about very dark years. I was in a very dark place for many years. As I like to say, the only reason I have letters behind my name now is simply I went to school to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I went to a couple of therapists. They were horrible. They're nice people. I'm sure they work well with some people. They were terrible to me. The first lady I talked to cried when I told her story of what was going on. That's not helpful. It's okay to show empathy with your clients, but crying makes me the protector now. I got to be the man in the room, right? So I got to be the protector. So I would just flip back into cop mode. The second person that I went and saw told me that my trauma and my anger were so bad he didn't know what to do with me and he didn't know where to send me. So now I'm so broken that the pros don't know how to deal with me. So that's a crappy part of the story. The good ending to that story is, I just finished my bachelor's degree. I thought maybe that would, move my career. I just lost my career. So I decided to go back to school, try to figure out what to do next. In a very dark place. And one night I'm sitting on my back porch and I never want to go to school again because doing the bachelor's was horrible. I'm sitting on my back porch drinking a bourbon. I'm on my school's website and I find this degree about professional counseling. And I think, you know what? Maybe that'll help me a little bit. Maybe I'll try to figure out what's going on. Right? The men in this group are typically doers. Right? We don't want just to have the information. We want the information to be able to go and do things about it, including for ourselves. So that was a good fit for me. I go to school for a couple of years. I get a mental health license and start talking to people. I'm never going to go to school again because it's horrible. Some of you have heard me tell the story that then I'm sitting on my back porch drinking a bourbon. There's a theme here. And I'm on my school website again, never wanting to go to school, and I find out about this doctorate in what I do. And I think, man, that'll be interesting. Maybe that'll get me more information, And lo and behold, just the blue-collar knucklehead cop turns out to be a doctor in the end. The reason I say that is because I want people to understand that I didn't do that to do this. I had no interest in doing this, none whatsoever. I went to school to fix me. But what I found out along the way was there's a lot of people that thought like me, that talk like me, and they needed help too, right? And it gives me a lot of, and I don't think this is a negative thing, it gives me a lot of positive belief, positive thinking, positive energy, however you want to look at it, to be able to help others. People ask me all the time, like, how do you do it? How do you keep dealing and hearing these traumatic stories all the time and talking to these people that it just seems negative and negative, negative, right? Very few people, and I'm okay with this, but very few people want 5 minutes of my time to tell me how awesome their life is, right? It's kind of like those of you that worked in public safety or are leaders, and I'm perfectly fine with that. If you got something going on, please tap me on the shoulder. I'll be glad to talk. That's what I do. But the balance is off, right? And I don't want fake placation, right? I don't want people just coming up and saying positive things just to make me feel better. I want to help them with their stuff. I enjoy doing that. But again, going back to the question of how do you deal with that all day long, man, I get to see the end of it, right? You may not know where you're going yet, but I know where you're going. So even at the end of the conversation, if you're not feeling this light bulb go off, we've planted the seed, right? I know where you're going. And man, there's nothing more fulfilling than that. I say that just because some of you are doing that with things like Scripture in your life now. Some of you are doing things like that with Torah. Some of you are doing things like that with prepping, with doing manly things, right? You're changing your family, you're changing yourself for the better. Planting that seed and getting to see the outcome and knowing what it's for is far better than that dopamine dump that we get of just flipping through Instagram or social media, which is fine. I'm on it, right? I use it too. But that long-term gain is far more positive to me. So that kind of leads in what I'm talking about today in kind of a strange way. Every year there's kind of a theme, right? They give us one of the cool things about speaking at this one is it's not very specific. They just want us to talk about, being the leader or dealing with families or relationships, right? And I forget what the exact term was, a few months ago when they asked me to speak and started putting these things together. But leadership stuck out to me. That's something that I've always been interested in. I've always enjoyed, how to be a good supervisor, how to lead your family, how to lead others. And so I got thinking, like, what about leadership? Because year one was trauma. I spoke very specifically about trauma that felt like it fit the room. Years 2 and 3, we talked about trauma, but then kind of how to heal from it and the mindset that it takes to kind of get past that. And trauma is very easy for me to talk about. Not only did I experience it, so I have some insight like many of you do in your own careers, but that's what I work with a lot now, and it causes a lot of problems. But I've also been fascinated with leadership. And so I would go to leadership classes, I would go to leadership conferences. And to be perfectly honest, 99.9% of them were pretty disappointing, right? It was, just know that everybody's going through something, so treat them that way. That's true.
Amen.
Everybody's going through something, right? That's true. But did that really make me a good leader just thinking that way? I would argue no, there's probably more to it. What about just see it from their side. You'll be a good leader, a good boss if you can just see it from their side. My first thought to that is, I may not be able to see it from their side because I may not be able to get my head up my ass that far, right? That's the reality. I understand that there's other people. I understand that there's people that see things differently, have different experiences from me. I don't think I'm the only one going through stuff or dealing with stuff or trying to be a good person, but your way of seeing it may be stupid too. I don't know, right? Or they're just thinking not rationally. They're not really using their head. They're just acting out of emotion. True. I'm going to show you actually kind of what that looks like and how we deal with our own walk of just responding out of emotion towards the end of this. But, they're just give them a break. They're just responding out of emotion. True. Also not helpful, right? And I go to all these leadership conferences and these things about supervision and how to lead your family and lead organizations because I'm a business owner now. I'm trying to figure that out as my walk. And that stuff just kind of fell flat with me. It's true. Those statements are true. But it's also, and if some of you may do this, may not, you do it for different reasons. Like how many times do you get on social media and what somebody's posted is just a little scripture with a nice mountain in the background and the scripture at the bottom, right? And that's good. It plants the seed. If you do that, keep doing that. But sometimes when I read those, I think, man, that was like one sentence out of 200 that would have helped me, right? Again, nothing wrong with it. My wife's pretty famous for those, right? She gets in her head about something and we find a scripture and post it. Maybe somebody else is going through it. But it's just not enough for me. I need more. I need more substance than that, just see it from their way. So, again, I'd go to these conferences, and there were different ways that they described things. But the general mindset that I liked and kind of stuck with it most was about seeing other people, right? Seeing other people for where they're at, where they are. But again, I just didn't want to be in this kind of, this just nothing but nice mindset of letting them walk all over me because they're in a bad place. I don't think that works, right? Having to always do what they want me to do just because they've had a rough life or a rough couple of days, I don't think that's the answer. So I started putting some thoughts together about how can I shape this seeing other people without making it feel so weak. So I used a very manly term that you may identify with. I used a term that would have fed me when I was in public safety. And this isn't a trademark term, I use a couple of different ones, but what kind of stuck in my head was the idea of instead of just seeing other people or thinking of other people or doing it their way, I need to have tactical empathy. Right? Empathy doesn't mean you love their viewpoint. Right? There's some folks that are also counselors in the room and will tell you it's okay to show empathy with your clients. Sympathy's probably not going to do you very good, right? You can't just get on their side and be upset with them. But empathy is important. I want to see where my clients, where my friends, where my employees are coming from. But I kind of want to do it in a tactical way. The tactic speaks to me, right? I'm not just being empathetic. I'm not just seeing it from the other side. To me, it's tactical empathy. I thought of other words that kind of fit too. What about operational understanding? Right? Kind of a tough term. I'm not trying to grow a product behind these names. They're just the ones that kind of speak to me, other than just be nice to other people, right? So operational understanding, or my use of strategic compassion. I need to have compassion with people, right? But I need to be strategic, right? There's a few men in the room. Just come across on a few men in the room that work in very violent prisons, very violent people, right? You can't just go into that situation with nothing but empathy, understanding, and compassion. Those are important, right? And those men will probably tell you, I know them well enough, they'll probably tell you that having those things probably made their job easier than just do this because I said so, just do this because I said so, just do this because I said so. But I can't lean on that side of that very soft and weak feeling, empathy and compassion and understanding. Nothing wrong with it. We're going to see some scripture about it here in a little bit. It is important. But I need to do it tactfully, operationally, strategically, right? There's a line. When you cross that line, I'm probably not going to have a lot of empathy anymore. But until then, I tend to do a pretty crappy job of those things like empathy and understanding and compassion. So what is this? Well, seeing and valuing others in your family, right? I know some of you have very difficult jobs. Some of you have your leaders or owners of your business. But we definitely in some way have family, right? Whether that's wife and kids, whether that's the people around us we consider family, whether it's the people in this room, right? Seeing and valuing others in the family as people with their own needs, challenges, and objectives. Not what did they go through and I'm just going to feel sorry for it, right? But everybody around you, everybody I look at in this room, the person you're looking at this room, we all have our own needs, our own challenges, and our own objectives. And I'm careful with this stuff, and I'm going to tell you how I first thought about these kind of words, again, in this kind of soft way. I realized that. I've known that for a long time, that other people have needs. But my needs are greater right now because I'm the one that's got to take charge of this, right? I know you have objectives in your life, but my objectives right now are more important because I'm trying to keep us alive, right? My challenges, I know you have challenges, but right now, my challenges have to top everything because I'm the leader of this family and I have to keep us alive and I know what I'm doing. Those are all true statements, right? But how are we affecting that to the people that are around us? This mindset, right? Mindset's a word that I used to use a lot. I use it a little less now because I think that the Instagram and TikTok world has kind of made mindset into just think better and everything will be better, right? I struggle with the word mindset now. I'm still coming up with ways to kind of think of that differently. Change your mindset, change your life. Technically true, also a little soft for me, right? But in being willing to say this mindset, it's about focusing on those people instead of focusing on myself. And I'll lose some people when I say things like that. You do have to take care of yourself, right? It's not about becoming the martyr. That way the other people can be happy. But it is about thinking in that way of others instead of just myself so I can actually get this job done in the way that it should be. It's recognizing that family leadership involves understanding and responding to the needs of those family members. And yes, sometimes, and you'll hear me say repeatedly, yes, sometimes that's you having to put your foot down. We're not saying don't. Sometimes that's you having to make the hard decision. Sometimes that's you telling your kids no because I said so, right? I understand that. But when we're thinking that way, when we're putting ourselves and our challenges first, and I know we don't like to admit that we do, I'm going to do an exercise here in a little bit that shows you that likely, just like me, you probably are. But when we start to do that and our self is first, even though we won't use those words, look what tends to happen, and you might see within your own communication. We start becoming what I call challenge-centric. Everybody else is a problem, first of all, right? Not only that, there are some groups I go to where it feels like the other people aren't a problem, like this group, right? We can kind of let our guard down a little bit with this group, right? A lot of us think a lot of the same ways. We read a lot of the same things. But this challenge-centric view, if that's what's becoming with me, what I see other people as is competitors for resources and recognition. Right? How many times have I, when looking back on conversations and dealing with people, have I made other people into roadblocks, challenges to what I'm trying to achieve? That, again, you're going to hear me repeat, that doesn't mean that I just need to let them get their way. That doesn't mean that their challenge isn't a pain in my ass. That doesn't mean that I'm going to let them get away with it. But if I see people as competitors for resources and recognition, and you do it with your own family, I guarantee it, and I'll show it to you, then what am I really accomplishing? And if I stay in this challenge-centric view, I see other people's, this one's big in this group, I promise you, hindrances to my efficiency of getting things done, right? We are task-driven people. We got fighter pilots and corrections officers and public safety members and people that own businesses and farms, right? All sorts of things in this room. And how many times have I immediately seen somebody else as a hindrance to my efficiency? I'm an efficient person, I get things done. I'm a type A person, I lead from the front, and you are friggin' hindering that with your stupid view or your stupid desires, right? We like efficiency in this group. I had to start thinking of these things because I could not get on board with, just, well, other people, they have things that they need to do too. Right? No, if I see you as a hindrance to my efficiency, you're a problem for me, right? I absolutely see you as a problem. And then I start seeing those people, and you do it with your family too, I promise you, as less of a person and more of a burden or obligation. I got some burdens in my life, man. I got some obligations. My phone rings sometimes, and as much as I love helping people, and again, that's not to discourage anybody in this room from chatting, but I get a lot of calls, and I'm appreciative that I am. But do you not think that at some point in my long 13-hour, 16-hour day of talking to people, that the phone rings again, and I'm like, I got to answer, man. It's an obligation. Don't you think I think of that person as a burden for just a second? I'm man enough to admit that. So when you continue with this view of seeing yourself first and not understanding what's going around, not only is that challenge-centric view, where everything's a challenge, everything's in my way. I hate roadblocks, man. I'm a big guy, I'll smash roadblocks like the Hulk. Maybe, maybe not. You also see them as in what I say is a utilitarian view. I'll get it together, utilitarian view, right? I start seeing other people maybe not as roadblocks, but as ways to get me where I need to be, right? This person could help me advance my career. This person could get me on YouTube bigger. This person could help me grow my business. This person could help me move my family where I want it to be, right? This person can help foster exactly what I think my family needs or my business needs. I'm not saying those aren't maybe good relationships, right? But how many of us have turned that relationship into them being an object now? Man, why didn't he promote my stuff on YouTube? What? I have a great product. I promote his product. Why isn't he promoting mine? Right? Here's one for this group that hopefully nobody in this room does, because there's hundreds of people that we're talking about when I say this, if not 200,000 people that sometimes join in on group chats that we're on. How many times have you seen in capital letters during one of the live chats, I've asked my question 6 times and it's not been answered? Right? Right? Yeah. Those of us with blue wrenches know what to do with that, right? It's not going to end well. But had it been my first group chat, I might have done the same thing. Man, what's this guy going on about? Something stupid about the Bible, and I'm trying to ask him like a really important question about my life and how to protect people. What's wrong with this guy? I want to know about 5.56. I don't want to know about this stuff, right? The title of your video says something about rifles. I want to know about that stuff, right? I can't believe that I've had to ask my question 6 times and nobody's bothered to answer it, right? Oh, we see it. We see it, right? We'll let you get away with it for a little while. But how, in that short chat, right, they've been on 20 minutes or an hour or whatever they've been on, how quickly did they go from, hey, here's somebody that I could learn from and could help advance my understanding, and man, maybe if I get in with this person, maybe they can help me grow my business. He does a lot of CEO stuff. He's got a big influence. He's got a wide berth of people he talks to. I've got a good product. He could really help me, and I need to know this information. And 30 minutes later, it's, man, screw this guy. Who does he think he is? Not answering my question. I've got a good question and a good product, right? What changed? Nothing in that guy, right? I started to see him in this view as somebody that can get me where I'm going. I also hate to admit, But not only do I see people as a challenge or as something to get me where I need to go, now I overlook people, right? I overlook people when I think of this way of just myself. I don't even think people matter sometimes. Oh, that guy? Psh, man. I don't put up with those kind of people, right? That guy's he's just in my way. I'm trying to get to work on time. This moron's just in my way, right? How many times do you overlook people that are within your own circle, right? I start to see them as a source of conflict and disagreement. So I just overlook them. Man, I'm not pulling up with that guy today, right? Not dealing with that one. I start to see them as a liability. There are liabilities out there. Some of them walk and talk and have cell phones and drive cars, right? There are liabilities out there. Tell me you've never felt that somebody close to you became a liability and then you felt crappy for it. So, well, those words sound good, this tactical stuff and this, not seeing people or trying to see people from their side. That all sounds good. But, those things that you said, I don't really know that I do that. Let me show you where you do, if it hasn't hit you already. Here's what we do. Here's how we treat people when we're putting ourselves as the center of our conversation. We start manipulating people. I'd never manipulate people. I don't treat people that way. Bull crap. We start manipulating people. That's the mean side of this, right? We do some mean things, some hardcore things. We start manipulating people. We threaten people. We try to control people. Here's one we're all good at. We criticize people, right? Just reading in the Word yesterday from KD about taking care of each other in relationships. And as soon as I walk out the door, I wanted to criticize somebody for something, right? Idiot, right? We blame people. We love that one. Blaming people takes the heat off of me. We'll punish other people. We belittle other people. That's what we do when we're thinking of this in this way, this mindset, and not having any kind of empathy. But I don't do that. I'm not mean. I'm a little more passive. Clearly, I'm not saying this about myself, right? Maybe you're a little more passive than the rest of the group. Maybe you try to be the passive one in your life now because you know that you used to be really angry. Here's what you do. Here's how you're mean to people without being mean to people. Pandering. You pander the people around you, getting what you need, right? Or you just leave. I'm out. Forget this. It's not working, right? Now, there's plenty of people, and I'm careful with this, plenty of people come to my office or contact me online, and maybe they're on the verge of divorce, and maybe they need to get divorced, right? I'm not strong enough to stand here and act as if I, knew everything about the Word and be put in a position of telling you how that fits within, Scripture. But, it's never good, but some people need to get divorced, and some people need to work on it. But that's the first most people usually think of, right? Leaving also is quitting your job because they didn't do what they said they were going to do, right? They said within 6 months I'd be this, so I'm leaving, right? Again, maybe. Let's evaluate the options. Let's see if you're thinking rationally or emotionally, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But just get up and leave. It's no big deal. What's the easiest one these days? X, right? Man, I asked that question 6 times. That jerk didn't even, I'm unsubscribing. I'm leaving, right? I can't believe you run a business like this. I'm unsubscribing. Okay, right? Like, I don't have near the following of guys like TJ or some of the people in this room when it comes to that. But if you want to leave, go ahead, right? What's the saying a lot of people use that I love? Like, this ain't an airport, man. You don't have to announce your departure. Just get on and go, right? I'm going to tell everybody you're a terrible therapist. Okay. Yeah, all right, right? So I leave, or here's one that we think is actually good, and it's really pretty passive-aggressive, avoiding, right? I just avoid dealing with it. If you don't think that that's not taking care of the people around you, that is. It's just a nice way of doing it, right? What about, this one will fit well. I just said it, fake nice, right? man, I hate that SOB. But, you know, when I saw you talking to him a few minutes ago, you were telling him how great he's doing and how happy things are, right? I'm not saying you'll be a jerk to everybody. Probably won't behoove you. But we'll talk in a few minutes what that fake nice is doing to you. Or you try to be liked, right? Right? How many times have we watched people say something in the chat just to get people's attention? Man, if you just say my name, that'd be pretty cool, right? If he just know, then people will know, you know, that I'm liked and I know what I'm doing too, right? All right, so that's what we're doing, right? Whether it feels aggressive, like being rude to people purposefully or cutting them off, or that, you know, the really nice not being mean of pandering or avoiding, we're doing it. We do that to the people around us, right? So let's go back to this idea of tactical empathy, right? We'll title it this time. It's understanding that this perspective and feelings of others will actually de-escalate situations, build trust, which is nice, and make more informed decisions. It's not just being nice. It's not about being soft. It's about being strategically smart and emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence will carry you further than I can ever describe in a talk up here. It's what I had to learn. It's not being nice. It's not being fake happy. Emotional intelligence will carry you further than most of the skills that you've taken classes and paid good money for. Because now, what does it look like when we start having this empathy? We start thinking tactfully. We start having emotional intelligence, any of those terms that we used before. Instead of them being in my way, some of those people will actually become a partner in collaboration with you. Again, none of this is about taking people that want to see harm to you and being nice to them. They want harm to you, right? We can handle that, right? I'm sure this will sell well on the internet. Where do pedophiles belong? In wood chippers, right? This is not about being nice. This is about emotional intelligence. So when we start seeing people in this partner and collaboration, now we can contribute to multiple goals at once, right? This is a term that whether they said it that way in some of the classes I've taken about leadership, because most leadership is organizational, right? How to be a good boss, how to be a good supervisor, how to lead a company. Most of these people that I've taken classes with are CEOs and attorneys and you know, CEOs of tech companies I can't even say the name of, right? And then me, which stands out a little bit. But when I was able to see that it wasn't just a business idea, that we're contributing in multiple goals within your family together, how powerful is that? What about the fact that they may be a source of a new perspective for you? How many times have we watched videos online? Like, I'm probably like most of you, in that my attention span stopped about 30 minutes ago, right? That's just my attention span, man. It's the way the world is today, right? I like short videos. I like YouTube Shorts, right? 60 seconds, give me what you need. If I like what you have to say, I'll actually go to your page and listen to a longer one. But, you know, if I search something this morning about, you know, whatever I'm interested in and the video is 14 minutes long, I'm out, right? I'm gonna listen to you for a minute, and then maybe I'll come listen to your longer video if I think you know what you're talking about, which is what they were created for business-wise, right? But how many times have we watched that gain a whole new perspective? Change the way we looked at things, think, man, that guy knows what he's talking about. Some of us came to stuff like this through channels, right? Through social media channels of stuff that we felt like that guy knew what he was talking about, or the people that he talked with or did interviews with, right? Instead of being a roadblock, which is where I saw people, everybody, right, before, what if they could be a partner in collaboration with me? What if they could be worthy of support? Some people need some help. What if I originally deemed you as something in my way, something not getting me to where I need to be, something I needed to avoid? What if I saw the fact that you're worthy of support too? Because we're all unique individuals with valuable contributions, right? I learn stuff every time I come here, right? I learn stuff every time that KD and I chat, or he stands up here, you know, because of his ability to put those things together, right? You can see that Like you said, you see that fighter pilot mindset. He's not doing 10 things at once. He's just doing the checklist so dang fast nobody can keep up with him, right? All that information he gave yesterday in the PDF is extremely valuable, and I'm glad it's printed out because I get to go back and look at it. But he's kind of like me, 100 miles an hour, in order, get it all out, plant the seed, let you deal with it later, right? What if it's a new perspective? What if I gain new perspective like that? And what if the people in this room all have valuable contributions? Right? There are plenty of things in the prepper sphere that I know nothing about. I've learned through you guys, I've learned through Bear, I've learned through researching other things, but valuable contributors, right? And how many times I've had conversations, even in this room, with people that says like, well, I'm not doing what you're doing, but I've got this idea about this, right? Well, I'm not up to his level, but here's what I do at my house. But you know how much I've learned from those conversations, right? Don't sell yourself short. You may be a valuable contributor to something I need. So may the other person. And here's how the treatment changes, right? We talked about the mean and what we say is not mean, like the pandering or just avoiding people. When we start seeing people with this tactical empathy, we start treating them different. We actually set real expectations for people. I start setting real expectations for my family, right? Not the way I want it done, not the way it has to be done because I said so, which sometimes you have to pull that card, I understand, right? I'm a father too. But setting real expectations with my family. And then, I might actually let them have a little bit of responsibility. Because how many of you, anxiety is through the roof? You know why your anxiety is through the roof? Anxiety is a really professional word for scared shitless, right? It's nice. And we're not trying to get from anxiety to no concern. I'm just trying to get from anxiety to nervous, right? What's one way you can do that? Share the responsibility. Yeah, man, you don't understand though, Doc. They don't do it as good as I do. Maybe. Maybe they do it better. Maybe they got a quicker way, which will infuriate the crap out of me that I've spent so much time learning it and you did it faster, right? Right? How many times have, I'll give you an example that's close to this. So some of you have heard I smacked a deer on the way here on a Thursday. Now, luckily for me, I have a heavy truck. I was able to brake hard enough. You can kind of get yourself out of some trouble by knowing how to drive well, right? I've been doing it for years in public safety. Smacked a deer, bent my bumper up, it's fine. We'll get it. But 10 years ago, I would have gotten out, made the bumper worse, if not ripped it off its hinges and thrown it at the passing car, right? Cursed the whole time. I was 10 miles from here, which has become a running joke because something about 10 miles from here always gets me in trouble. Because 2 years ago I got a speeding ticket. So, but anyway, I would have ripped the bumper off, thrown it at a passing car, cursed the whole way, called here and said, I'm not coming. This is ridiculous. I have to go home. Like, I hate to admit that I was that way, but that was me. Stuff would have been broken inside the truck. I'd have called and probably cursed my wife out even though she wasn't here. What a stupid piece of crap idea this was, right? I knew I was going to lose money on this, right, or whatever it was. And now, 10 years later, I didn't love the fact that this was going on, but I got out, looked at the bumper, and went, shit. All right, shit. Get back in your truck and finish your trip, man. Make sure things are okay. Can you drive? Is it safe? To your benefit, I tried to load the deer up in the back of my truck, but he got away. So thought I'd be the hero if I brought like fresh deer meat, right? There's men in this room that would know what to do with it, right? But being able to think in a different manner is what's important about that. But let's say somebody had stopped on the side of the road, or somebody had hit that. Let's change the story, is where I'm going with this contribution. Somebody had done that on the side of the road. When it was me 10 years ago, I would have gotten out, made the bumper worse, ripped it off its hinges, thrown it at a passing car, cursed out the cop when he got, just whatever, right? Like, this is not fair. God hates me. I knew I shouldn't have been on this trip, whatever it was, right? But if you hit a deer on the side of the road and I pulled over, what would my attitude have been like? Man, it's just a bumper. We're going to be all right here. Hey, let me help you make sure that this is drivable, and then I'll follow you to your destination, right? Right? We've all done that. A bit more helpful in other people. That's because I had a more valuable contribution when I was calmer. What if the other person's that way? They have a more value contribution because you see them in this mindset that might have a little empathy of the fact they might be doing it better, right? That story just came to mind. It may not have been a perfect fit, but how many times have you worked on, I'm going to fix this on my truck myself, right? Me and YouTube, man, we're going to fix this. And this says it'll take about 45 minutes. I got all the tools for it. I've been to AutoZone 4 times already to get the parts, right? And the guy at AutoZone knows everything, right? So I got all the parts. It's going to take about 45 minutes, which is good because we got plans in an hour and a half. My truck will be ready. And 7 hours later, I'm cursing at it, can't get the bolt off, pissed off, right? So I call my neighbor who's a mechanic and comes over in 3.5 minutes, he's got it fixed, which I'm thankful for. He's also an asshole, right? But he had valuable contribution, right? And if I'd not seen that, if I just seen people as oh, I'll give you one, I'll tell him myself, I'll give you one even better, because I know every guy in this room understands this story. So I have a truck. I love it. It's my dream truck. It's a diesel. It's what I always wanted. I pull a camper with. I just don't want a big truck. I use it for things. And, after a couple of years, the battery needs to be replaced because it takes a lot of energy to start a diesel in the cold. Well, I'll be damned. So if you were smarter than me and knew, there's 2 batteries in a diesel. Crap. So, okay, it was extra expensive, but you know what? I've changed 1 million batteries. I got this. So I get the battery. First one's same place as a car, couple of bolts, I did make sure I didn't ground it, because the two battery system's a little different. I was smart. I looked on YouTube how to do it. I changed that first battery in like 4.5 minutes. I am the king of the world. I'm the smartest man. I'm so tough and brave. Look at me. Change my own battery, right? And then battery number 2 comes around. And I don't know what contortionist midget designed this thing. But it's not going in. I don't care the fact that I bench a lot of weight. It's not going in. So I'm trying to be, stay in the right mindset. I'm doing better about myself these days. And my wife comes out, sees that it's not going well. I've jacked up my knuckles and probably part of the truck and cursed. This 4-minute project's taking an hour, and I'm pissed. And she says the one thing that a wife should never say to a husband in the middle of a project. Mike's a mechanic. We could probably grab him and he'd probably help out, right? She's right. Had I called Mike, it'd have been like, hey, dummy, take these 2 bolts off the air filter or whatever it is and it'll slide right in. I could have probably told him the make and model of my truck. It'd have been like, let me tell you what to do, right? Man, screw Mike. I'm fixing this myself, right? Mike's an object in my way. Mike's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He would gladly do it, right? It wouldn't have cost me a dime. He'd have probably enjoyed it, right? Mike's an object in my way, right? We won't get into the fact that now my wife is an object in my way at this point, right? But Mike's an object in my way. I don't hate Mike. Mike's a great guy. He's a great neighbor, great mechanic. He's helped me with tons of things. But in that moment, he was an object in my way. He was a challenge to my manhood, right? Was he? No. So what if my belief in this and understanding lets other people have a little responsibility and be a contributor to the stuff that I'm stressed out about? Load off, right? Some of you figured that out. I might actually bother to listen to what people have to say. Here's one thing that was extremely hard for me to learn in the therapy world. Listening by listening. Because I stand in front of people and I feel like I want to do a good job speaking. I have people in my office that are struggling. I have people online that I work with on video that are struggling, right? The people in here have told me stories, they're struggling. And what's my tendency or our tendency to do? Listen with thinking about what I need to say. I'm going to solve this problem, right? If I don't interrupt them, right, and tell them what they're thinking, which is wrong. But I'm listening, thinking about what I need to say next. Oh, I've got something to contribute to this story. I need to put some information in this, right? How about you just learn to listen by listening? How do you do that? Yes, it's a skill. Yes, it took me practice. What if I see the person for the story that they're trying to tell me, right? I've got the skill and the knowledge to help. Why do I need to be thinking of it the whole time they're talking? You might actually learn something. Heaven forbid. And you might actually have a real appreciation for people around you. Now that sounds kind of corny. Maybe you're good at that already. You have appreciation for the people around you that do things and help you out with things. But don't raise your hand. Plenty of you have lost appreciation, if even temporarily, for the important people that are around you. I've lost appreciation for my family. My family was in my way during those dark years. My family, while I knew in my head was supposed to be a good thing, was in my way, right? I was thinking of me. I'm not going to use the word selfish. We all do things selfishly at times. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. But I had lost appreciation for my family. So if you've made it this far and not thought I sounded like a sissy talking about these things, right? This is, again, not about being weak. It's not. I'm not weak. I'm going to do what I need to do. But isn't this nice, but sounds very weak? Not only does this help us with our emotion, our stress level, this could actually be a safety enhancement for many of us. Everybody in this room thinks differently about safety, or at least we think differently about some of the rest of the world about safety, right? We take it serious. We appreciate the Second Amendment, right? Most of us carry equipment at all times, or at least around us, to help other people or ourselves stay alive. Well, it's not about being weak. What if it's about the core values and sense of duty that many of us hold dear, like protection, service, integrity, things that the men in this room are very big on? What if this helps our understanding and considering the perspectives of others, which enhances the ability to serve and protect? One of the reasons I got into public safety, one, because it sounded fun, right? Two, I know it says doctor in front of my name, but I failed out of college my first year because I had a full ride scholarship to a 4-year school, and I realized that I like cheap beer and hot chicks more than I like class, right? And those don't go together, right? What's one of the reasons I joined government at 21? Don't need no stupid degree, right? The other reason that I joined, though, was because I liked that idea of serve and protect, right? I wasn't there to bow down to anybody, not that kind of service. But I like the idea of doing things that other people wouldn't do. I like the idea of doing the right thing. Most of the men in this room would agree with that, right? I like the idea of not being the hero per se, but being able to do things that made me feel good about helping other people. That serve and protect mindset, right? What if being able to see people in a different light and this empathy actually helps you serve and protect and keep those core values like service and integrity? It's a leadership skill. We're not just talking about talking one-on-one with somebody. It's a leadership skill that'll enhance our capacity to lead by example, right? Most of the things that we know that other people learn are either caught, not taught, right? I hope people get something out of the folks that are standing up here giving information to you, right? But what do you learn more from? Watching people do it, watching how people talk, watching how people treat each other on the internet, how we treat each other in a chat room, right? When all we know is a name and not a face, right? Leading by example, we take responsibility and, most importantly, make decisions that reflect well on the unit that we're trying to improve, right? Because that emotional trap of anger and anxiety and depression and guilt will serve you nothing in making decisions. It doesn't work. Besides, do you honestly believe that you're teaching your family and leading them when your mindset and your emotion are screwed up? Do you honestly believe that you're leading them the best that you can, right? I have no doubt the strong men in this room are leading their families, leading the people around them when I say family as well, right? Leading their business, trying to lead people that we see as important, right? But do you honestly believe that you're leading them when you're stuck in this loop? You're not, because you focus on solutions instead of focusing on understanding. Not soft understanding, not the solution doesn't matter, the solution does matter. But if you focus solely on the solution, you're now stuck in this loop. People want to be heard, man. If the number one thing I've learned from being a therapist is that people need to be heard sometimes. That does not mean I need to listen to their 3-hour dissertation on their trauma in their life, right? One of the things that those of us that are in the therapy world will tell you is sometimes you got to cut people off in a very nice way, right? Some people need to get that stuff out. But I promise you, everybody in this room wants to be heard in some way. Now, maybe that's different for you. Maybe you have dreams of standing up and speaking in front of the crowd. Maybe you have, you want to meet other people and form a group, right? Maybe you just want to have somebody else in the group or somebody else that you speak with regularly appreciate you and know that you have something to value, right? Every one of us wants to be heard. And are you really leading by not doing that? Because you also prioritize efficiency over connection. Man, I'm good at this one, right? Everything must be efficient. I must have the speech ready to go, absolutely. At no time can I veer off of that, right? We've got to do what we've got to do. We've got to be efficient, got to be efficient, got to be efficient, or people might die. This is the mindset that a lot of us are in. It's what I was taught in law enforcement. If you screw up, people will die. Guess what? That's mostly bullshit, right? Now, there are screw-ups that you can do and people will lose their life or get hurt for. Absolutely, 100% must be taken seriously. All of them? All of them, though, all the mistakes you make, somebody's going to die. Welcome to the world of anxiety. Scared shitless to make a decision. Depressed because you did make a decision that affected somebody as opposed to being sad or frustrated, right? You will also make unilateral decisions by not considering others. And sometimes that works because maybe you're a single person, maybe you don't have a close family or friends, maybe you do, you just don't see them often and you feel like you kind of make decisions for yourself anyway, right? Maybe that served you for a while. But eventually making unilateral decisions and not considering others will push the rest of them away. And there are plenty of men in this room who don't want to admit it, but are personally, and I'm not talking about an intimate relationship, are personally lonely as hell. Plenty of people in this room, you can see it in their face when they talk. It's not obvious to everybody, don't freak out. But you can see it when they talk about it. They're lonely as hell, right? A lot of people are drawn into this group just on the prepping side by trying to find somebody, or on the Torah side, right? How many times do you hear in this group, man, there's nobody in my area that understands this. Nobody gets this, right? I get it. I understand that. I've absolutely felt that way. But if you're making unilateral decisions based just on you, you're just going to push them away anyway. You overemphasize achievement. We love this in kind of the tactical world, right? Here's what I can do. Here's what I can shoot. Here's what I know, right? Achievement's great. Keep doing it. Keep learning things. Keep getting better. But if all I have is achievement, tell me you're leading your family that way. Tell me that your family feels heard. When all you're based on is the outcome and the achievement, right? Here's one that I'm pretty good at, enforcing rules without context, right? Let me give you an example of dealing with somebody on the side of the road, maybe a traffic stop back in the day. You don't have to be nice on traffic stops. I wasn't very good at being nice on traffic stops. I hope that I wasn't a jerk all the time, right? But I was very efficient. Efficiency over relationship, right? And I don't think that a cop has to stop you and go, look, man, you seem like a really nice guy. Tell me about yourself, you know? Like what, you know, because I'll tell you, and those of us who work in law enforcement, 95% of the excuses that you hear are bullshit anyway, right? Well, I'm going to the hospital, my wife's sick. Oh man, that sounds terrible. I mean, that sounds like a reason that you might be in a hurry and not paying attention. Like, what's going on? She's had a cold for like 4 days and trying to bring her to the hospital, right? You hear that crap all the time, man. You want some fun. If you're in public safety, you want some fun, find the one that says he's rushing his wife to the hospital because she's having a baby and follow them there, right? So I don't think that you have to be overly nice. It's not all about customer service when it comes to having to enforce things, right? We're an enforcement kind of group, whether you do that for a living or not, right? But how many more times I was able to get a good contact out of just explaining why I was doing what I'm doing, right? Some things are pretty obvious. Speeding, reckless driving, right? But I remember I was in field training. It's like day 3, and I probably saw this on a video somewhere. I'm not going to say that I came up with this concept, but we're working a very high crime part of my city, and of course you stop for everything, You know, that especially back in the day, you stop for everything. It's the broken window idea from you know, if you fix all the small things, catch all the small things, the bigger things will get caught too, right? So a guy rolls a stop sign. Somebody we know is not exactly a law-abiding citizen. Rolls a stop sign, probably like he does every day. Pull him over, right? Immediately. Jawing at me, right? This is BS, this is crap. And I remember my field training officer standing there about to jump in, and I said, hey man, listen, you'd be amazed how many wrecks happen at that intersection. I just want people to stop at that damn thing, you know? Because here's the deal. If people don't stop at that thing, guess what they're gonna do? Put a freaking traffic light in. I got to sit in another red light. And I'll be damned if that guy wasn't like, damn, man, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, man. Now, did I really care about the stop sign or the stoplight? Not as much, right? I don't want to BS people. I don't want to lie to people. I don't want to manipulate people necessarily. But I was explaining what I was doing. Hey, man, doesn't this make sense that we don't want another stupid traffic light? It feels like there's traffic lights everywhere in this stupid city, right? Same outcome. Dude got a warning. I didn't care about the stop sign, right? I was trying to find out what he's doing. But how much more compliance did I get from that? Not because I was trying to manipulate him, right? Not because I was trying to just look like the nice guy. I just told him what was going on. I didn't arbitrarily enforce a rule just because, right? How much more did I get out of that? And then, I'm really good at this one too, and I bet you are too, is you think that you're leading. You're not leading while you neglect your own emotional needs. You're not. You're not. You're eating yourself away from the inside. This is how I end up throwing things across the room every time something went wrong or trying to rip the bumper off the truck if I hit a deer, right? It's a bumper, dude. Why did I lose it? Because everything's going wrong in my life and it's horrible and awful. Right? It's the worst thing that could possibly happen right now because I wasn't taking care of myself. So I think we've been sitting about an hour, and I'm not going to go extremely long, but as we kind of get into next of how this kind of fits within the Word and then how do we start fixing this, I'd say let's do a 10-minute break, just kind of get everybody stretched legs, and then we'll start moving into I just realized that I'm ruining my family. Now can I do something about this phase? So let's just take about 10 minutes. 15 after.